Hello everyone, I'm Ariel with Urbanist and welcome to Paris, France, in one of the most picturesque places of the entire city of lights, Montmartre. But we're going to walk specifically through one of the oldest streets in Montmartre that predates the rebuilding of this tiny little village that was annexed into Paris proper in the late 1800s. Here is Rue des Salles, which is absolutely gorgeous with all of its brickwork. Beautiful remnants of a gorgeous cabaret where all the famous artists of the 1920s used to hang out in. Let's take a walk. So Rue des Salles, right up there. And we're surrounded by galleries, cafes, that you can imagine the likes of many iconic artists used to hang out in. However, if we look forward, you might recognize this exact view, because this exact view is one of the more famous paintings of all Montmartre from the Impressionists. Cézanne painted this exact street from this point of view. So this street, a lot of the buildings around it predate from the rebuilding of Montemarte after it was annexed by the Paris city, making it the very last parts of Paris that we know now today. Also, after the events of the Paris Commune, they had to rebuild a lot of this area. It was mostly filled with shacks because people couldn't afford to live in Paris proper. So Rochefort, who was kind of a successor to George Eugène Haussmann, decided to continue Haussmann's plan into Montmartre to complete Paris once and for all. But this street predates that, and that's why we're seeing these older brick-style houses all around us. And look how gorgeous they are. Gracias. So cars are constantly passing through here in Montmartre for being such a crowded place. Surprisingly, there's car traffic. Now, you'll see a lot of people taking photos here because right in front of us is probably one of the most picturesque restaurants. This is La Maison Rose, which means the pink house. And yes, it's so picturesque. People are sitting out, drinking and eating. And all the buildings around us are covered with vines. So if you want to put yourself in Cézanne's shoes, here we are, 360 video. In front of us we see views of Paris, the other arrondissements, Montparnasse Tower right down there, the tallest skyscraper in all of Paris proper. So before Montmartre, what became a haven for artists who wanted cheaper rent outside of Paris proper, especially Paris proper that was destroyed by the Paris Commune and all the events that happened around it. Before all that happened, Montmartre was very rural. It almost felt like the countryside. And one part of the things they used to grow here was wine. And this is the very last vineyard that survives in Paris. All the other vineyards are located outside of Paris in Bordeaux, Brittany, etc., etc., etc. But this is the very last one inside the city of Paris, maintained by the Paris Parks Department, and the people who actually grow the wine are the winemakers of the surrounding provinces around Paris. Let's take a peek inside. So you see the wines, the grapes being grown, and they're being covered in order to avoid pests. A beautiful vineyard. Beautiful vineyard. So you can buy this wine as well yourself. It's called Vineyard du Clos Montmartre. Forgive my French. So you see that the houses look similar to housemen's houses in the other arrondissements around Paris, but not quite so specific. And that's because it's slightly different urban planning, separated from the majority of other Paris. And for our final stop over here is one of the most iconic cabarets of Montemarte. So most of the red light district classically was in Pigalle, or it still is in Pigalle, which is down the hill. However, there was a few cabarets still in Montmartre where a lot of the famous artists used to hang out in. And the likes of Picasso, Moriarty, and many, many others, Cézanne himself, probably Monet and Manet as well, hung out here at the Ou Lapin Agiel Cabaret, which still seems to be functioning. Wow. Dating back to 1860. Here we can see better views of the vineyards and the very tippy top of Sacré-Cœur, the Sacred Heart Church that is built on top of the Montemarte hill. Here's the cabaret from the front. Let's take a look. Such beautiful views that we can see down here. And if we keep walking all the way down, we'll reach Pigalle, which is the area with Moulin Rouge, where during the Belle Epoque in the late 1800s, people started partying, and Paris ended up getting very scandalous because of the losing grip of the Roman Catholic Church on here. People felt free to do things they wouldn't do in their home countries, such as Chopin coming from Poland, or countless other artists like Picasso coming from Spain that was still heavily under Catholic control. Let me show you the views down here. And there we go. That is the tour of Rue des Salues, which I hope you enjoyed here in Montmartre, one of the oldest streets in the entire neighborhood, predating a lot of the structures that surround it. I hope you enjoyed it. I highly recommend just wandering around Montmartre. It's definitely worth it. There's so much different things to see that you just might bump into. More history, more different houses of artists, and more of the treats. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a supporter. If you're seeing this a month before everyone else, keep being awesome and always keep on exploring. Have a great day, everyone. A bientôt.